All right, welcome to the Larson Life Group Huddle. I am Jim Larson. I am a senior vice president here at Symmetry Financial Group, direct to the company and an equity partner. I am direct to the company by way of Jamie Soucy and Corey Neighbor, Sarah and Jared Thunder, Reineke, Jacob Pogue in the Marshall Wayland hierarchy. And I am so excited to spotlight my guest. Let me find her here, and I want to spotlight her for everyone.
Oh man, it's late for Spotlight, Jim.
I
It's late.
know. I'm coming up. I'm joining you. I'm joining you up here. All right, guys. I
Better.
am so excited to introduce you, and I know this is not really introducing you, but for some of you it is. I'm introducing you to Jamie Soucy, who's not only been my mentor in this business, but she's been a personal friend of mine for a long, long time. And truth be told, when I came in here in January of 2020, and I brought Sarah Reineke in, and Sarah brought Jamie in, and we're all new and struggling, and we couldn't figure this thing out. And COVID was screwing with everything, and like it was hard. I went to Jamie and Sarah, and I was like, "Hey, I'm sorry, guys, but I don't think I'm gonna figure this out." And I quit and I left them, but I watched them. And the thing that I watched Jamie do was I watched her become the fastest to the top contract level in the history of this company. Now, Kelly Bush has since come and beat that, and that's what records are made for. And Jamie kind of paved the way for Kelly to be able to do that. But our having a conversation with Jamie in this space is a whole different ball game, and it's really, really exciting. She brought single-handedly brought a level of enthusiasm and excitement and a different way of doing business to this industry. She raised the bar on what could be done and how fast it could be done, and rewrote the book on expectations. And now people are like, well, I guess we can do things a lot faster. What she's done here is phenomenal. And I know when we get the opportunity, we tune into her call every week. We hear from her a lot, but we hear from her often in a hosting the call perspective. When I wanted to give a chance to get a hear from her as a guest perspective, she's paraded around in lots of agency calls. And I'm like, well, I'm going to take her on our agency call then. So with all of that, Jamie, hi, how are you?
I'm excited to be here. It's not lost on me. Just the honor to come hang out with your agency, and I mean, you guys are doing something incredible too. Obviously, fastest to equity partner broke those records, like you said. But I'm excited to be here. It's late to do a call, so kudos to all of you guys for being on calls. I feel like my best hours are 5 a.m. to noon, but I had a Red Bull and I'm ready and I have a ton of energy. So I'm gonna bring it tonight. But thank you for inviting me to be on. I know you guys come to our calls on Monday, and I'm happy to be able to sit in this space and talk to our people, and just I live in so much gratitude for this agency and what all of you guys having come here saying yes and sticking this out and figuring it out and getting out of it what you want, what you came here for, and just growing into a better person, is what Corey and I want for all of you. So I'm an open book. You know that, Jim. I'm so grateful for your friendship. We go way, way back.
Way,
I would
way
like
back.
you to cook dinner for me. I don't want to go to dinner with you at Ignite. I want you to cook dinner for me at your house. If you could do that,
When
that'd be
you
great.
guys build that new house and Sonny and I come move into that casita for a month up front, I'm gonna bring my chef
Done.
coat and I'll do
I'm gonna
dinner.
write your name right on the top. I'm gonna write your name up there. And there's lots of other people on this call. I'll write your names too. You're all welcome to come to
Hey, I'm
us.
just real. We
So
have matching hats today.
I know I saw you post a picture of it in a chat earlier. I'm like, I'm wearing that tonight.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, James. So my kind of goal for this call, and this is so funny, we talk literally all the time. So I'm like, hey, come be on the call. We figured out randomly what the title was going to be today, and we didn't talk about what we were going to talk about at all. So none of this is prepped. And
I love
usually,
that
like
though.
I do too. I typically give a guest like, here's kind of like the premise and like what we want to get across. But I'm kind of hoping you can take us back to the beginning. Like walk us through. I know when I first talked to you about life insurance, you were a
Yep.
hard no. somehow Sarah was then Sarah talked to you about the same thing. You're like, oh, I think that sounds like a pretty good idea. Like I don't, I don't
That's
know why,
exactly what it sounded like. That's exactly what it
but
sounded like.
walk me through your decision process. Why'd you say no to me? Why'd you say yes to Sarah? But in general, why'd you come here? What was it about it?
That's so funny. Man. I give Corey the credit for why I'm here. And for those of you, I know there's new people on the call, welcome. I'm Jamie Soucy, my husband Corey Neighbor, and I are married, do this together. We are direct to symmetry by way of Sarah and Jared Reinecke, Jacob Hogan, Marshall Wayland, and you guys were part of the best hierarchy with the best mentorship, the best leaders, the best humans. I mean, it's awesome what we have here just for the people we get to work with. But bringing it back, I worked as a nurse for 12 years in Boston. That's where I'm from. Now live in the desert for almost 7 years now, maybe almost 8 years. I don't know, time flies. But worked as a nurse, worked in network marketing. I owned a med spa for a season, which was so fun. All my friends came over for Botox and fillers, which sounds awesome, but I just gave it away for free, and that product is super expensive. And it put me in a lot of debt. So that wasn't going to be the thing. And Jim and I had done a coaching business together. We had done a podcast. When I say we, it was Jim's podcast, and I just got to be the pretty face in the background. It was so much fun to do that with him. And all of that, everything I've done up to here has led me to here. All the different businesses I've worked and failed at and succeeded at. I never got to the top of anything prior to here. So that was kind of, we'll get into some lessons, but that was a really big lesson for me to learn. Like, am I worthy enough to build something big here to find success? But what made me say yes was Jim had initially planted the seed because we had this business together, and he's like, hey, I think I'm going to explore other options and want to find a way to make more money than what we were making. And I just, it wasn't the right timing. The message came and it was not the right time. I did not want to jump into something else. And Sarah's message, her and I had met also through the coaching, the business coaching school that we had gone through, done previous businesses together, and something about the timing of her Facebook message. So if you're thinking you're worried about how to recruit, her Facebook message was nothing fancy. It said, hey, I think I'm going to do this insurance thing with Jim. I think you should do it too. And that was it. And I read it and I was like, yeah, no, Jim already told me about that. I'm not doing it. But I read it out loud, and Corey happened to be next to me, and he's like, Jim, you should look into that. And I'm like, what? Insurance? No way. I don't fit into that box. That's not my story. I'm not going to do insurance. But then I got in a call, met Jacob Hogue, fell in love with this culture. I didn't even really know what we sold, what type of insurance it was, but I knew I wanted to be part of it. I knew Jacob Hogue at the time when I had that initial call was making $120,000 a month in passive income, and that was unfathomable money. And his story, when he said to me on this Zoom call that we had when we first met, he said, you know, Jamie, Stacy and I, his wife, were sitting on a back patio one day, and they said, why not us? Why are there so many successful people out there? Like, we're really good people. Why not us? And Corey and I had had similar conversations like that. And I thought, maybe this is it. It's not network marketing, been there, done that. It's not taking me out of the home. It's not taking me back to the bedside, which I worked as a nurse. Low cost of entry. I like these people. Let's give it a go. So we jumped in, and early days were messy. I know a lot of people look at our story now and we're making incredible money passively. We're building a dream home. We are debt free. Like, our life right now looks a lot different than it did in 2020. So that message came in 2020. I got licensed in May 15th, Christina Watt's birthday. And my first application was written in June on family. I wrote so much business on family. We have 4 kids, and they needed all the things. And it really was because I wanted to practice. I just was at the beginning coachable in what Jacob told me to do. Sarah and I started at the same time, so he mentored both of us together. And we're like, oh, we got to write an app. Oh, we got to get a forester's fraternal license. Oh, what is Opt? I mean, all the things that if you're brand new here or have been here for a season, you have experienced. I've sat in that seat, but I want to talk to you quickly about, I we were broke. Financially, we were broke. So I came here and it wasn't really an option if I was going to make it work. Jim, you train on this all the time. You're incredible at how you articulate this part of this business and the need in making it work. But I, I had to sell stuff out of our home on the OfferUp app to buy leads. It was $300 a week in leads is what Jacob told me to do. Jacob told me what to do. I was going to do it because I wanted his life. And I was extremely coachable in doing what he recommended I do. So I did that. Sarah's my accountability partner. We were running buddies. We wanted to be successful together and build something big. So early on, we were broke. But I answered this question somewhere in Denver. Somebody had said, hey, when you started here, what did it look like? I said, I was broke, but I wasn't broken. Like people come here broken, and that's their story too. But I knew I had something left in me. I knew I wanted to build something. I knew I wanted a lifestyle for our family that people here had. So a lot of it was just figuring it out. I mean, guys, I was terrible on the phones. I learned quickly that personality is not enough. You've got to develop some skill set here to be able to do all the steps to be successful. Um, yeah, it was so messy in the beginning. Sarah and I used to text each other and be like, "What bill are we going to pay today? How are we going to buy leads? How is this next day going to work with where we are now?" And it was, don't measure your success here in a day. You have to look at it big picture, and what you are doing getting you closer to where you want to be. So
Yeah.
I know I talked a lot. No, I got off on a rant, but the beginning was super messy, but I wouldn't change it.
Yeah, what do you think? So talk to those people. We've got a lot of them right here on this call that are in that place, James. Like lead spend is super hard to pull up. Like it's deciding between paying bills or buying leads. And right now, they're not really that good that they probably won't close the leads if they even buy them. So they're on the fence about like they know they need to buy them because they got to get through the learning curve, but what lesson did you learn in that season that you
Yeah.
would go back and tell yourself, or you'd speak to those people that are in that season now?
Yeah, that was a huge lesson for me in figuring it out. I had to figure it out no matter what, because what were my options? Going back to bedside, getting a job outside of the home. I mean, it was a pandemic when I started. I had 4 kids. Well, I literally birthed a child 2 months after starting this business. So, I didn't really have a choice. We had to make $10,000 to keep this house up and running. And it took us a long time to get there here, but I held on to the vision of where we were going because I believed in what we were doing. So I had to learn not to get too high with the high and too low with the lows. I had to learn how to solve, and I give Andrew Jimenez so much credit for this, and you guys have probably heard Sarah Reineke say it before. When we were stuck in the beginning of how are we going to buy leads, he said, "Well, Jamie, if you're going to solve other people's financial problems, don't you think you should figure out how to solve your own?" And I was like, gosh, this kid is like 15 years younger than me. Like, he's giving me advice. Like, I've got to figure this out. I sold a Peloton, I sold a camera, I sold jewelry, I sold furniture. And it's crazy to think now we could buy any of that stuff back that we wanted to now. So it was a sacrifice for a season. There are people here that have sold their homes. It's how bad do you want it? And again, learning not to get too high with the high and low with the lows. I have had no shows. I have had chargebacks. I have had people ghost me that I thought we were best friends because we spent an hour on the phone setting the appointment. Lessons learned along the way. And I talked to Jacob about this too. He's like, "Jamie, you're just high speed, low drag." And I'm like, "What does that even mean?" He's like, "You just do the do and don't let it pull you down because the next lead you call is probably going to be a win. How can you stack wins here to keep you here one more day?" And that is our goal. I want people to be profitable. I want people to build a big business if that's what they want. But you do that by taking the next step, by building on the next win. That's how you win here. So I, I love to ask people, how bad do you want it? When do you want it? How can I help you do it? What is it that you need from me to help you win? How bad do you want it to figure it out? Because I'm telling you guys, selling stuff, calling warm market, calling your family and friends. A lot of us came from network marketing, and that's something we didn't want to do. But I've had to do a lot of things in life that I didn't want to do. But guess what? People want what we have. And if you believe in it enough, which I borrowed belief in the beginning because I didn't have it, if you believe in it enough, you're going to do it. I have people tell me, oh, I'm scared to post on social media. I'm like, what are you scared of? Well, what other people think of me. I'm like, who of those other people are paying your bills? Who cares what they think? And I'm going to be honest with you, they're not thinking about you. They're not. So stacking your wins, doing it because what are your other options? Some people have to come here and get a job to afford leads part-time. Some people work their warm market. Some people work super old leads. I'm not going to tell you what you have to do. You're going to tell me what you're going to do, and then you're going to do it.
Mm.
And I get to mentor movement, and that's my favorite part.
There are two things I want to zoom in on. One, you just said mentor movement, and I'm gonna go back on the other. So let's hit this one first. What do you mean by you want to mentor movement? Dig into that one for me.
You guys have probably been in this situation if you've hired people, or maybe you've been that person yourself. You say that you want to do a lot of things. You say that you're going to do things. I want to mentor people that are doing things. I want to help people that are making a mess, that are doing 500, 600, 1,000 dials in a week, that are talking to people and trying to figure out, Jamie, how can I get better? I want the people that are plugging into calls with their camera on in the chat. I want to mentor people that don't just say they want this, but are acting and moving like they want this. There are so many people here that just talk about it and don't ever do it. I can lead you to water. I can't make you drink it. And yeah, 100%. Massive action, constant correction. You're putting in the work. I'm gonna help. I'm gonna cheer you on. I'm gonna love you on the way through, but you've got to be the one to take that next step. And this truthfully is, I don't spend a ton of time on the phone with people before they start moving because I don't want to be that end all be all answer for them. And I don't want to enable people and think that I'm the only one that can help them do something. This is why this agency is incredible. Like Jim just showed that website that he's created. That is gold for you guys to use. We have the resources, we have the workroom, we have the system in place. You got to be the one to work it. So
Yeah.
yeah, mentor
It's,
movement is
it's
huge.
so good. The other thing you mentioned is borrow belief. I want you to zoom in on that one because I was just talking on the new agent call just before this about how when you're in the learning curve, you're gonna come to a fork in the road. And I promise every agent this, you're gonna come to a fork in the road where you're in the learning curve, you're not yet profitable, you're not yet having fun, and you're gonna either decide you want to quit or you're gonna decide to trust me that it's gonna be worth it if you stick it out. You're going to come to that fork where you're either going to have to trust me or quit. And that trust me goes hand in hand with that borrowing belief. Like you haven't yet seen enough evidence to believe it. So you're going to borrow someone else's belief. Walk me through that, Jamie. What does borrowing belief mean? Number one. Number two, whose belief did you borrow?
Yeah, so it's so good. Whose belief did you borrow? I think is my favorite question there because there's a lot of people that can speak into your life. My question would be, if everyone has a voice in your life, is anyone important? And
Mm.
I think that way too about calls. If you are getting on every single call that's offered, are any of them important? And for me, I got to decide who had the life that I wanted, who was where I want to be, and who kind of aligned with my values and my beliefs. And that was Jacob Pogue and that was Danny Young. And they're both very, very different human beings. They are very different mentors. But those two men are the ones that I allowed to speak into my life when it comes to this business. People that are where I want to be. What does borrowed belief look like? For me, guys, the learning curve was so hard. Put a one in the chat if you're still in the if you're in the learning curve. If you're new, you're trying to figure this out. Yeah, it's hard. I want to normalize the struggle through the learning curve. It's my favorite thing to do. When someone sends me a text and they had a hard dial session or an appointment that wasn't good, like I'm so glad that you're human. Awesome. That's always my response because it's normal. I've been there too. I know how you feel because I felt the same way. And this is what I did about it. I kept moving. I got through it. I got better. But back to borrowed belief. Jacob Pogue in the beginning, again, had the life that I wanted. I used to ask him to text me pictures of his bank account. There's no secrets in this company. You can see numbers, you can see bonuses, you can see what people make. There's no secrets. But on the days that I felt like, man, I am working, I am hiring people and sharing this opportunity, and I'm dialing leads and I have appointments on the books, but man, my bank account is not reflecting that. I said, Jacob, show me where I'm headed. If I keep doing what I'm doing and I grow myself to handle enough personalities to get to the top of this company, tell me, show me. And he just would randomly send me pictures. I do it to people all the time now. That helped me because I was driven knowing that the money was going to come as a result of what I was doing. I wasn't here initially thinking like, oh my gosh, we're going to be at $100,000 a month. But if we could even have $20,000 in a month, $10,000 in a month, if I could even just get above negative, that would have been a good place in 2020. And Jacob's belief and his vision and his words and his love, and I try and mentor so similarly to him. It's so much less about training and hand holding as it is as someone that holds the vision and believes in you while you do the work to get where they are. That's what he did for me. He taught me so many things about Jamie. When you figure out how to be confident, you are going to be unstoppable here. Well, when he said that to me, you guys, I was pissed. I'm like, I am confident. He's like, no, you're not. You need somebody to call you up on things that they see in you. And I thought about this for so long. I still do now because I'm bringing it up. But one day it clicked and I understood what he meant. And it made me think, I know what I want here. I know what I'm doing is working. I know that I'm hiring. I know that I'm onboarding. I can love people. I just have to walk that out. So borrowing the belief of somebody that's where you want to be is awesome. And being okay reevaluating if it's not the right person and finding somebody else. I want to give you permission. It's like reading personal development books. If your book has been sitting on your nightstand for 6 months, you're not still reading it, put it down and get another one. Same thing with accountability partners. If the person you are partnered with is bringing you down or not helping you get to the next level, it's okay to find another accountability partner. But borrowing belief is what kept me here one more day because my options, what were they? Again, go back to work, quit, continue to be in debt.
Mm.
I didn't want that. I didn't want that. Jacob also helped us he taught me how to have a different relationship with money. Put a two in, and you don't have to. If you're terrible with money, like I was too, I'm not going to make you call yourself out, but I was so terrible with money. I had a terrible relationship with it. I didn't know how to manage it. I didn't know how to handle it. It would come in and it would go out. This business helped me learn how to have a better relationship with money, how to have a business account, how to allocate, how to save. It's the most incredible thing if you're willing to embrace and lean into it. But here's the thing, in the beginning, you guys, it takes the most amount of fuel to get this plane off the ground in the beginning, and fuel is activity. You cannot replace that. Your plane cannot run on fumes. You have to be the one to put in the activity, to put in the sweat equity. There's no way around it. You have to do the things here that you don't want to do in order to get to where you want to be. But it is a season. If I would do this 1,000 times over to have the life that we have now. And when you have time and money freedom, that's awesome. I didn't really even know what that meant until I didn't stress about my bank account anymore. I didn't know what that meant until I didn't stress about what I was doing in my day because I didn't have guilt of feeling like I needed to be somewhere else. But here's the thing that my favorite level of freedom here is emotional freedom of not carrying guilt for anything. This business will change you if you let it. if you actually walk it out and seek the right mentorship and borrow belief and take the next step and lean into things that scare you and getting uncomfortable. But guys, this you cannot avoid the learning curve. There's so many things that you learn here as you're building this business. And I've been in the same seat, whatever seat you're in. If you're in debt, if you're struggling in your relationship, I've been there too. If you're struggling in this business and figuring out, is this the right place for you? I hope it is. I hope it's worth getting through the suck because I'll tell you, it's so great on the other side, whatever that looks like for you. Do you have another question? You want me to keep going?
I mean, I can just sit and
It's,
listen to you all day. It's
sorry
it's
about your
so
voice too.
it's so good. No, my voice sucks. I'm sleeping in the guest room these nights because
I
Sonia,
understand
if she
that.
wakes up in the middle of the night, she can't fall back asleep. And I can
I
fall
get it.
asleep right now, but I'm gonna cough. My throat just tickles. Nothing even comes up. It's just a tickle in my throat from this stupid cough or this stupid cold. And then I just cough, and then she wakes up, and then she mad at me. And like if she mad at me, ain't nobody happy. So
I
that's the
get it.
state of my house right now. I'm sucking down cough drops and sleeping in the guest room.
I totally
Um,
get it.
all right. So I want you to talk too about, I'm clear with people that there are three ways to make really good money in this business. And as long as you get really good at least one of them, not like half-assing all of them, but get really good at least one, you can make a ton of money here. And one of those is production, just straight up converting leads to business. If you get really good at that, you can make a ton of money. The second is building an agency. You get really good at building an agency, creating culture, plugging people in, onboarding, you're going to make a ton of money. Third is advanced markets. You get nerdy and you just get really good at helping people with large investment. You're going to make a ton of money here. Get really good at any of those. Now, I think you and me, just from our background, we kind of knew we had to produce because we had bills to pay. So that was like necessary. But if we look at those three things, I think you and I both knew we were going to be builders. So talk
Yep.
to us about some of the lessons you learned early on when you were building. Like what did interviewing look like? What did trying to bring people into something that was so hard and you're scrambling going like selling stuff out of your house, like people walk into your house, you don't have furniture anymore. You're like, you should totally come to this business that I emptied my house out for and I suck at. What does building and bringing people into something that you're struggling with look like?
Oh, that's so funny. My kids were like, Mom, what are you? I was taking pictures of everything. Like, I'll stand in front of me, I'll try and sell you. Um, I sold so much stuff out of my house, which is also freeing to be able to do that too. And one thing I want to bring up too, if you're like overwhelmed, I'm going to use that word for lack of better word. If you're overwhelmed because you're new or you're stuck in the struggle, or maybe you've been here for a season and you're like, my initial story is not what I wanted it to be. My number one thing for people to focus on when you feel overwhelmed is a promotion. A promotion is what's going to keep you here. I don't know anybody that has had money deposited in their bank that wasn't happy or that didn't have a happy spouse for having money deposited in your bank. I'll tell you, a mismanaged schedule or a lack of schedule or an unsupportive spouse, I think are the two things that get you out of business quicker than anything else. So if you are stuck, it would be focus on a promotion. When you promote, when money's dropping in your bank, when you're figuring out how to underwrite and how to produce, that makes you a more confident person to believe that this works to be able to share it to build. Okay. I knew I wanted to build. I didn't want to build warm market because I came from network marketing and I burned that bridge, which is just an excuse that I told myself because I was scared early on to share it. But I didn't start building for like 2.5, 3 months because I didn't want to tell anybody what I was doing. Okay. So I was dialing leads. What did I tell you before? I had a baby a couple months after starting this business. So my priorities shifted to a baby who never stopped crying ever. So I could not sit in my office and run interviews and dial leads. So I only had control. I did this again out of necessity on my cell phone is why I started posting on social media about this business opportunity. I'm so grateful for that because I've built a big business, using that as a tool. However, what did my schedule look like when I started building? I did cold market recruiting. Some of you are probably like, Jamie's never done an interview or cold market. I did a ton of cold market, ZipRecruiter, LinkedIn, Indeed. I had a recruiter was hired and she filled my calendar with interviews. Now, what did that do? It forced activity, which forced me to get better at talking about this business. Because when you're doing an interview, which I got 15 minutes or less is my sweet spot for an interview. Any more than that is way too long. Any less than that, I'm fine with. But 15 minutes or less for an interview. You're going to get questions, the same questions all the time. What do the leads look like? Do you have to pay for leads? How much money can I make? What does the schedule look like? Can I do this part-time? Can I do this full-time? Tell me about the company. Is it a great culture? You're going to get asked the same questions, which teaches you how to be better equipped to talk about it. Warm market, cold market, doesn't matter. I also got really good managing my schedule at interviews when I started building. Then I hit a season, probably 6 months after starting here, that I had 17 people enrolled in pre-licensing in 1 month. And I thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to manage all these people? Great problem to have. That's when I came up with an onboarding process to get people moved through the funnel, moved through the pipeline. So again, lessons learned. How can I better manage my time and my emotional and mental energy while I'm building this thing, while still being a mom to 4 kids and a wife and getting this thing off the ground? I also learned that I didn't love cold market. And when you don't love something, you're not going to be good at it long term, right? I didn't love dialing, but I figured out how to do that, how to produce enough to get to the top of this company. 15,000 a month was what my production pen looked like. And I'll also tell you that the person that builds a business here that has the most amount of writers wins every time. So if you want to build a big business, focusing on your writers without hand holding, because I also learned too, you can out recruit your attrition rate. Does that make sense? Instead of holding hands for people that are going to talk a game and not move, remember we talked about mentoring movement? If you want to build a big business here, you can out recruit that. So
Can I
yeah,
bookmark you for 1 second? You can come
yep,
right back here. I want people to
yep.
understand this is one of the biggest culture shifts that Jamie introduced to the entire company. Before Jamie came in, so many people here had come from financial services, had come from, general sales in other places. And the concept behind building was bring in a few people and turn them into aces. Bring in a handful of people and make them 20,000 a month producers. So small numbers of really, really kick-ass producers. That had been the model. Jamie's like, yeah, I see that, except hold my beer. Instead, I'm going to go bring in 400 people and maybe they only sell one app and I'm just going to love them where they are for whatever they happen to do. It changed the entire game. It changed the whole game because we were talking lots of numbers of people and it opened up the concept. There were very few part-time agents here. It opened up a roadmap and a model for part-time agents to come in. Maybe you don't want to build an agency. Maybe you don't want to make a ton of money. Maybe you're really happy writing a couple apps in a 2, 3, 4 apps in a month, making some extra money, calling it great. All of a sudden, Jamie was providing a home for people that wanted this as a side gig, and nobody knew what to do with that. That was like blasphemy in this world. So, just as a hat tip to Jamie in changing culture, that was one of the big shifts that she made. And now lots of other agencies are trying to catch up with. But how do I love people that only write one app?
Which is so funny because I didn't come here thinking that's what we were going to do, but I had a baby that never stopped crying. So my options were I got to post. And then when you post, I started finding people that needed a policy. I'm like, "Wait, what? That's a zero lead budget for okay." Now, that is also temporary. I needed to get into the system, which is buying leads, dialing leads, writing production, like I because that is predictable. Warm market is not predictable when it comes to the insurance sales side. So I want to make sure that you know that too. Um, But yeah, I've had lots of people come up to me and say, like, hey, I'm going to come to your agency. I'm going to train people on how to be top producers. And I'm like, man, I love that. But no, I would rather have 100 writers in a week, which is what we average right now, 100 writers a week that write one or two applications than one or two people that write 20 or 30 or 20,000 in premium. And I say that because we're building a sustainable business. Okay. I want people to come here and get what they want out of it. We have a volleyball mom who just wants to spend money on club volleyball, which is expensive. So she writes a couple policies and is happy. But I love meeting her where she's at because she's getting out of this what she wants. Now, do we love our top producers? Of course we do. But people are one life event or one sickness away from not being in the field, and then that plummets our business. We have never ridden the roller coaster and been completely steady because we just bring people on. The right ones are going to figure it out. We're going to love people where they're at because that's our culture. So I love that you mentioned that. I love that you brought that up. I think it's just getting really good at asking questions, which is my favorite thing. It's my favorite thing in coaching. Here's why. It keeps your mental health stable. I don't take on any ownership or responsibility for someone else's success because I've just asked them questions and lead and guide them to what it is that they want here. I don't want to have any expectations of someone wanting to come here and get to the top of the company in 28 months or 25 months. I don't want to have an expectation of someone coming here and wanting to produce 50,000 in a month. I don't want to put that pressure on somebody. I want to know what it is that you want, and then I want to know how I can help you win, regardless of what that is. So I appreciate that. And I, again, didn't come here knowing that's what it was going to look like, but now we have changed the company, and it's awesome because this is a great opportunity for so many people who just want to do this part-time or full-time from home. It's awesome. What else do you
Let's
want to know?
let's talk about money. How
I
long
love
did it
money.
take you? Yeah, it's so good, isn't it? Let's talk about how long did it take you to feel like not even that you were making a living, but how long did it take you to feel like you were consistently profitable on a week-to-week basis from lead spend to deposits in your bank? How long was that process for you?
I'll tell you, again, had a bad relationship with money, right? So I was terrible with it. It would come in, it would go out. It would come in, I'd put it on a credit card. I'd max out a credit card, I'd pay off a whole credit card, and then I'd build it back. It was terrible. But I'll tell you here, and we talked about this on our Monday call, just our numbers, that the writers that we had, our income and what it looked like. We were $100,000 in debt. Corey joined me 2 years after being here, which has just been a huge part of the continued growth in our agency. Being able to do this with your person is awesome. But it wasn't that case before. He was always here, but I was the face of it when I first started here. But in that first 6 months, I felt like I was never in the green, ever. And I would hear people say, like, well, if you open a coffee shop, like, you're not going to be profitable because there's a lot of capital that goes into starting a business. And I'm like, okay, Jacob said, keep going. Jacob showed me his bank account. I'll keep moving. Oh, another 300 in leads. I'm like, I should just throw that $300 out the window or give it to the homeless guy on the side of the road because I suck so bad at this business that it would have been better spent with him. But then somebody told me, Jamie, this is like paid training. You're just learning. This is education. Spend $150 to get your license. You got to figure out how to get good at this. And you have to invest a little bit of money in it. And I'm like, okay, I trust you, Jacob. He's never steered me wrong. But I'll say it took about 6 months before the light switch hit and I realized what mortgage protection was. 6 months. And here I am selling accidental death policies because I sucked so bad that I could sell an accidental death policy to anybody. Then I got better at it. Our first year here, which was June to December, so like 6 months or so, we had a total of $21,000 in deposits. But I was actually barely even with what I spent on leads, what I spent on licensing. I was licensed in like 47 states because oh, that sounds good. Oh, I have more market there. I'll go get a license. Oh, I need a fraternal license. Like I was just dumping money into this because I knew that's what I needed to do to win. 21,000 in deposits. The second year, we were averaging $7,000 a month in deposits. Again, there's lead spend going out of there. You guys are crazy with your spreadsheets. You probably have way better ones than I do. But we went from 21,000 in the first 6 months to the first full year was 130,000 in deposits. Then it started to feel good. It started to feel like, babe, let's open the bank account and it's not going to be negative. Let's open the bank account and there's not going to be an overdraft.
When
Let's open
when
the
was
bank
when
account.
was that? How long was
That
that?
that
And two questions. So one, just how long from the time you started?
so first full year. So first 6 months, that was learning. First 6 months, I didn't know what mortgage protection was, sold accidental death, averaged like $2,000 a month or so in deposits. First full year, January of 21 to December of 21. We had agency owner that year in May, and we had $130,000 in deposits. That's when it started to feel better.
So you were
15,000.
18 months in, somewhere in that 16 to 18 months in, it started to
Do you
feel
want me to
okay.
show you? You want to have a visual on it? I have it in front of me. You want to see it? Would
If you
that
got it
help?
right away, I got 4 minutes
I do. It's
left to
right here.
wrap up a bunch of
I'll do it
info.
real quick. I'll do it real quick. It's right here. I'll just show you because it's cool. If anyone on here tells my ex-husband, you're deleted. First 6 months, 21,000.
Yeah.
First full year, this is monthly. I have my commission level, our issue rate, how many apps were written, writer category, new writers, premium,
Yeah.
and the month. So we went from 21 to 130 to 483 to 871, and we're almost there now, year to date. So, but I'll tell you again, it takes the most amount of gas, the most amount of effort, the most amount of energy, the most amount of mental stability through the roller coaster in the beginning. The learning curve is hard, but what's your alternative? Bringing people on here that are going to figure this out, that want whatever it is that they want out of this without you putting preconceived notions or expectations on them, loving them on the way, plugging them into the system, having the right mentorship, focusing on writers if you want to build, focusing on getting great at production if that's what you want to do. So it's going to get you what you want here. For me, it was to be wealthy, but also with wealth is not just financial, because that emotional freedom is something I never knew what it was until we had it.
Mm. Yeah, that's so good. I love that you even shared that right there too, because it gives a visual to the real grind here, guys. Like I don't want to sell like setting expectations is everything. And when I read that, I could be third party. I could come in here and I could read that, and I'm going to read 6 months of struggle, and I'm going to read a year of profitable but barely making a living. That's what I'm going to read in that. So that's 18 months. Months. I got people coming here, if they don't figure it out in 18 days, they want to quit. If they don't figure it out in 18 weeks, they want to quit. And I'm like, you looked at an 18 months, but then you saw last year, 2021 was that first full year, make profitable, barely squeaking a living, like making a living in that first full year, to 2023, $871,000. All of a sudden, that ain't just profitable or making a living anymore. Like, that's dumb money now.
It's
That's
stupid.
fun
You guys
money
are all
now.
part of it. You guys are every number in there. If you've written business here, your number is in there. You are part of it. This business is the best. This company is the best. I am full transparency on all of it because I really want to show people what's possible. But this is not didn't just happen. It was early mornings, late nights, we're reading books, listening to podcasts, turning off the news, plugging into the right people, and just staying here another day. And how you do one thing is how you do everything. So I really try and show up on Zoom like I do to my family, like I do to my husband, like I do to my friends, like I am in business. I am me. And if I can help you in any way grow this thing to where you want to be, I'm happy to do it. Super grateful for everybody, even being on this call at this hour. You
You
guys
know
are in the
why I
right
do
place.
this call at this hour? Because all the other ones are during
I
the day.
know.
And I have my part-timers and they work their day jobs during the day. And I wanted to give them an opportunity to tune into a live call. So I'm like, I'm
Love
going to
it.
buck the trend and I'm going to do mine in the evening.
I love it.
Why?
And it works. You have a bunch of people on here. This is great.
Great. Jamie, I want to thank you for your time. I love you so much.
Same.
It's fun to see how many different hats that we've gotten to wear together. But it's fun to have landed in a place where we've built a solid foundation and we get to kind of run this thing for a while, for a long time, and it's going to be so good. Like we're still just getting started in so many ways. But I'm so grateful to you as a friend and as a mentor. I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't have you to lean on, to trust, to call when I was in that place, 9, 10 months in tears. Like, I need to get a freaking job. I need a job. Like, I can't, I'm breaking even on leads. Like, and you and Jacob, you both were like, don't do it. You're right on that cusp. And I was at that line. Like, do I trust? Like, it doesn't feel, but like, do I trust? And I chose to trust.
I
Um,
said, is that going to get you closer to where you want to be?
No, yeah, you did tell me that. You asked me that because you're so good. You never tell, you only ask questions.
And if you want to get a job, I support that. Do you want me to support that or challenge that? That would have been my next question. I love you so much. You guys are awesome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for staying. Anything I can do to help you win, I'm here for.
Love it. Guys, this replay will be on YouTube tomorrow. Love you all. Appreciate you all. My favorite agents are the ones that blow up my phone the most. You know that. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye, guys.